Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for being here, gentlemen.
My pleasure.
We've come to discuss something that I think is very near and dear to all of our hearts.
I agree.
That would be Star Wars.
Yeah.
So, on Thursday night at 10:35 p.m., we saw Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I think we all walked away feeling a little confused, a little unsure of ourselves. So, on Saturday, which would be yesterday, Randy and I saw it again at 6:05 p.m. and Aisher saw it
2:05.
at 2:05 p.m. So we all got a second viewing, and now we're here to discuss our thoughts and discuss how we felt. So I think we'll start with what we liked, because I think it's good to start with hope. A new hope, perhaps. Start with positivity. So let's talk about the first thing on our list here, which is Luke. What did you gentlemen think about Luke in this movie?
I personally enjoyed Luke a lot. I think he pretty much stayed the same as in character as to how he was portrayed in the original trilogy compared to this one. There were some things that could have changed. Like, I'm not sure if Luke really would have just hit on an island for so long because he felt bad. But I mean, I can deal with it. He did good.
I bought it. I bought it.
Mark Hamill did a great job, I think.
And,
yeah.
I thought he was the best part of the movie, to be honest.
I agree.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
He looked, he sounded, he acted like Luke would.
I like when he went to the Millennium Falcon for the first time, saw R2.
Yeah.
That whole scene was really neat.
Yeah. Let me say
R2,
this too. This is a spoiler talk.
Yes. So
we'll label it as such.
Don't watch this.
If you haven't seen the movie yet, don't watch it. Turn back now.
Yep.
But
Morning. Fair.
what did you think about Luke?
Yeah, spoiler incoming. I loved the way he went out. I think him turning into a Force ghost like Yoda and Obi-Wan
Fitting.
was very good. Like, I just felt at peace with that move in the scene, like the scene of that.
At the same time, I wish he wouldn't have died, but it felt it went with the movie so well.
I
think they handled it really good.
Yeah, I think Evan and I talked about this a bit too. That I think it would have been really nice if the same death had happened in the last movie.
With Han.
No, in the last movie, episode 9.
Gotcha.
Like if the same thing handled the same way, just a movie later would have been nice. Because I wanted to see more from Luke. Like he was so good.
And I think he still will return as a Force ghost.
Yes.
Obviously, in episode
I think
9,
it's a wasted opportunity if they don't, for sure.
Totally.
But
which he will.
There was some wasted opportunities, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a second. There are plenty of those. But yeah, Luke was great. I thought Mark Hamill absolutely nailed it. Stole every scene he was in. Loved hearing from Luke. Let's talk about Kylo now.
Oof.
Because Kylo, after the first movie, I know you, Randy, were like, I'm not so sure about this guy. And I was in the same boat, you know, he seemed
I thought right away in The Force Awakens, when we first see him going on to Jakku, he pauses the blaster, that whole scene was awesome.
Dope.
And then later on in the movie, after he does all this sweet, cool stuff, he takes his mask off and he isn't really sure of himself, it feels like.
Yeah.
And I get that, that's a good character development that he had from this movie, from the last movie to this movie, but I liked him a lot more in this one.
Yeah.
He was pretty
He was
good, yeah.
He was my favorite character in this film, and
Yeah, same.
I think that he was used poorly by the writers. I think he could have been so much
wasted
better.
opportunity.
Yeah, once again.
You're going to hear us talk about that a lot.
Yeah. I love this intensity of Adam Driver's portrayal of Kylo Ren. Like he was like he looked like he practiced his character over the time and got better at being Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
And I love that.
It looks like he cared about the movie he was in, which
Kylo
is more than I can say for some of the characters.
I'm really glad with how they're leading up with Kylo. He did a lot of stuff in this movie, and the one part is a little iffy about, but we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
But overall, still he did great.
Loved him.
Yep.
Stole every scene he was in, just like Luke.
Yep.
That's why they're the top 2 on our list.
Yep.
To be honest. Now let's talk about, for me, what was actually my favorite scene in the movie, and possibly one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars going forward, which was the Luke and Yoda scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yoda comes back in this movie as a Force ghost to lend Luke some advice about burning down the
past.
The past,
tree,
yeah, the tree
like,
where there's
Jedi,
books are
yeah,
held.
the ancient
We're assuming you've
Jedi.
seen the movie. If you're listening to this, so you know what we're talking about. But I loved that scene because Luke. Oh my gosh, I honestly get happy thinking about that scene because Luke. It was like Luke was a little kid again when he was talking to Yoda.
He felt just like Empire.
Yeah,
How
he was like
in
yelling
Empire.
at. He was like frustrated with what Yoda just did. He was yelling at him. He was trying to show him why he was right, and Yoda was just calm and explained himself. And I love that scene so much. It was incredible. Like one of the best scenes of any Star Wars movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, I like to say that I like how they did how Yoda looked. How they did.
they did puppet.
They didn't take the prequel Yoda and just put him in
Age
the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
They did a good job on that.
Yeah, that was really cool. And I thought the puppet even looked just great. Great. I don't think it was awesome.
Frank Oz.
Everything.
Great job.
Yeah. Everything about that scene was perfect for me.
Yeah.
So that's why I included it there. I mean, I'm assuming you agree
I
with
like
that.
that scene a lot too.
It's a great scene.
Wasn't my favorite, but
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
I mean, top 5
For sure. Yeah, for me, I think it's probably my favorite just because of how much it
Yep.
just
Connected
felt.
everything.
Yeah, it just felt so right. Rey was amazing in this movie.
Yep.
In my opinion, I mean, she didn't do a whole lot, but I think I really liked her in The Force Awakens a lot, and I really liked her in this one. So I guess I would say it didn't really have any sort of change in my opinion of Rey, other than something that was revealed about Rey, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't think there's much to say about Rey. I think she was good.
Yeah, you pretty much kind of could guess what was going to happen with her.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that.
By the end of The Force Awakens,
like how she would.
Yeah,
how she would grow. As a
you
character,
basically knew she was going to go to the island. She's going to get some training. She was going to leave the island. I mean, it was pretty much cut and dry with she's going to confront Kylo. All that happened, so she was good. Poe.
Real quick about that. The whole Kylo and Rey, how they like sync up, do a like
Yeah,
snow
that was
connection.
awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah,
I really liked that.
Yeah.
I liked how that was portrayed too. Where it wasn't like just a shot of Kylo and Rey in the same room.
It was always.
But it was boom
her,
and then
and
boom.
then, yep.
That was really nice. I really liked that.
Yeah.
Poe in this movie, I thought was good. I didn't. He was the weakest point for me, at least, in The Force Awakens.
I didn't really care.
I know you didn't like him. You
Yeah.
didn't like him, and I think in this movie we see because we're in The Force Awakens. The thing is, we're always told he's best pilot in the Resistance. He's respected, etc., etc. He really only has that one scene at Maz's palace where he flies through and destroys like 5 TIE fighters in a row. In this one, you really see, wow, this guy's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that a lot.
The whole opening battle sequence, I think he put a.
Yeah.
Yep. Like that whole space battle.
Yeah.
He
We'll
did
talk
great
about that.
yeah.
We'll bundle this in. Like
Yep.
the opening space scene was amazing.
That was pretty.
It was
sweet,
really
yeah.
cool.
One of the coolest openings in Star
Yeah,
Wars.
it was
behind. I think I like the Revenge of the Sith beginning a lot, but that's just me
So
personally.
much.
But that was really good. Yeah.
There's so many cool things.
Yeah.
I will say this. I've said this a couple times. The first 30 to 45 minutes of the movie were perfect for me. I was just so ready for the rest of the movie because you had the opening space battle, you had the first interaction between Kylo and Snoke and Hux, which was awesome.
Yeah.
You got to see Snoke actually do something, and then you have Finn waking up, and I really liked the line. They go, "You must have 1,000 questions," and his only question is, "Where's Rey?" And then boom, it goes right to.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. First 30, 45 minutes, perfect. The first interactions with Rey and Luke were great.
Yeah.
So
There's personally, like, I know you said you like the humor, but the humor, I don't know, I could have done without a lot of the stuff, but I mean, it's fine, whatever.
You said something about the humor earlier upon second viewing. You said
Yeah, it annoyed me.
Yeah.
10 times more seeing it the second time.
I agree.
Because when you first see the movie, you're just so into what is happening, and you kind of shrug off like the little jokes that aren't like really important. But the second time, you're like detailing everything, and you're focusing on little aspects, and you just have these random jokes that just come in and just like ruin the moment. I'm like, that did not need to be in there. Like, why? This is for.
I wasn't as bothered by them even the second time. I noticed it more the second time, I will say, but to me it was still just it's kind of there. And I told Evan like I had so many big problems with this movie that the humor was like the least of my concerns.
If you put it that way. Then,
and I said this too. Well, we'll talk about all this in a second. But if even 2 of my biggest problems were fixed with the movie, then I would have been concerned about the humor because I would have been nitpicking at that point. because it would have been a perfect movie, but because there were just some things.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. BB-8 we liked.
Yep.
I thought the scene where he takes control of the walker was a little Disney for my taste.
Yeah, I agree. That was.
But it's whatever. He overall
That
he was
whole scene was kind of.
yeah. BB-8 yeah, we'll talk about that too. BB-8 turned into like sort of comic relief, which I guess he was in the first movie, but also he was a cool droid. I thought.
Yeah.
And I think in this movie he was.
I enjoyed him more in this movie than the last
Really?
one.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
that-
I would say I liked him more on The Force Awakens personally, but So-
It's just a good droid. Like you get a little attached to him. He's kind of like the new generation's R2.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. He's a good droid.
I still like R2, but
Yeah.
R2
whatever.
is
Doesn't matter.
as by the looks of
The
it,
OG.
R2 is stop interrupting me, please. R2 is now seemingly like disappearing from the movies.
Yeah.
It's like
He
they're
was
forcing-
barely in The Last Jedi.
It's like they're
That's
pushing.
sad, yeah.
Barely.
Alright, let's stay on what we like here. Stay on what we like. We're almost done. we can let loose in a second. I really like the hyperdrive scene,
Oh yeah.
regardless of some of the things that I think should have happened in that
Yeah.
scene that didn't.
It was
really
really
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Regardless of the fact that it was also sort of a plot hole in and of itself. Like, why didn't they just do that early? Whatever. It was cool. That when
Dead silence.
when it
when
goes
hits,
silent
just- yep.
in our theater, everyone just there were a lot of
Yeah.
like people you can just hear across the theater.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool moment. And then we already mentioned the opening space battle that we liked. So
Yeah.
There was a lot of great things
yeah,
in this movie.
and we
but-
say all of this because I personally didn't hate this movie, despite how bad it's gonna sound like I hated it in a second.
I agree.
Because we are gonna go in on some things
Yeah.
that were just bad.
Yeah.
But like we started with the good to let you know that there is enjoyment to be had in this movie. When it's good, it's the best,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I still like this
Few
movie.
and
It's
far
very
between,
enjoyable.
but
Yeah,
when
definitely
it's
go
good,
see it. Yeah.
it's very good.
When it's good, it's great.
A lot of scenes that are pleasing to your eyes. And
For
like,
sure.
wow, that's amazing.
And the
Cool.
and scenes where you're
Good
like,
old Star
wow,
Wars,
that
yeah.
is Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's
Yeah.
hit me here. It's really cool. So that being said, we did have a lot that we didn't like. So we want to talk about that right now. And first on the list, I think we tried to at least sort of order this in a way that goes from just almost pure hatred to more of an inconvenience. First for me is Rose, guys. This is what I keep coming back to. After the first watch through, I said I don't like Rose, I don't like Holdor, and I hate a few other things. Upon my second watch through, I still hated a couple other things, but my dislike for Rose was upgraded to like actively rooting for her to die on screen.
I was too, honestly.
I
At
couldn't
the
stand
end-
her character.
Yeah.
She didn't exist for any purpose.
No.
She added nothing to the story. She was not a good actress.
No.
I
I-
couldn't stand Rose.
Yeah.
At the end too, I see you put Finn down there too.
Yeah,
but,
he's coming.
But the end when Finn is going to the kamikaze to like save everyone, a hero's death. She comes in and saves him for no reason. She's like, "I saved you, you dummy. I love you."
Didn't they
So
just
bad.
meet? They just
It
met
was
that
so-
day.
It was.
They just met.
That was one of the things. Well, Finn and Rose is because we have this down here too. Finn and Rose's entire plot line is not just one of the things because a lot of our things we didn't like is fairly subjective, and it's just things we didn't like because of of our expectations
Yeah,
or what we
yeah.
wanted to see. But this was just objectively terrible.
I-
Their entire plot line made no sense.
No,
it
no.
added nothing to the story.
Yeah.
And
The whole
and the two worst lines in the movie come from them.
Yeah.
And here they are. When they set the freaking horse thing free, and Finn goes, "At least it was worth it. At least we really stuck it to him." Because everyone knows rich people are just bad, right? Like rich people are evil, first of all. So yeah, movie wanted to throw that in, but then he's like, "At least we really stuck it to him and hit him where it hurt." And she takes the saddle off the thing and sends it on its way. She goes, "Now it was worth it."
classic Disney. Thank you.
There was a Disney line that just, and I love Disney. Like Disney,
I do too.
Made some really
Yeah.
good stuff,
It was just
but that's
over the
not.
top.
Don't put that in there.
Please.
That was
For
the
the love.
cringiest line. The second time we went to see it, I left during the casino
got
part
popcorn,
because I got popcorn and I got a drink because I
Good move.
I did not want to see that scene again, dude.
It was so bad. So bad.
The whole Casino Planet scene, terrible.
Yeah, can I say
Can't
something about
Please,
that?
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so in this whole scene, this whole like side adventure from the main plot could have been totally irrelevant if Vice Admiral, whatever her
Hodor.
name is,
Yeah.
would have told Poe what she was planning on doing.
Yep.
Because if then Poe would have been like, okay, let's do this, instead of like, oh, I'm gonna start a mutiny and we're gonna try and
Do this other
infiltrate.
plan.
So we gotta find a code breaker on this other planet in this
Yeah.
casino.
It was how they even
Ugh.
with Maz. That was just a shoehorn. In.
The Maz
That
was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't even put her down. I forgot about that. When they
it was dumb.
It was just so
To
not
say the least.
important that we just forgot she was even in the movie. Like we don't even.
yeah, and like
yeah.
that's the thing is with Hodor. I guess we'll talk about her right now too. Like, if she would have literally just told Poe, because there is no, it's a plot hole. There's
Yep.
no reason why she doesn't tell him. Poe is a respected commander, whatever, captain if he was
Captain,
demoted,
demoted,
but
yeah.
whatever. That it's totally formality.
Yep.
He was a respected pilot for the Resistance,
The best.
the best.
Yeah, the best.
One of like Leia's at least we were led to believe Leia's right hand man.
Yeah.
He interacted
He
with her. Yeah.
fairly like politely asks for the plan. I mean, he was getting a little angry, which good for him. He deserved to be. That's one of the reasons I like Poe in this movie.
Yeah.
They were getting
He has some-
chased for.
He has
Yeah,
some
yeah,
balls.
Yeah, and he goes and asks her, and she's like, she just doesn't tell him. And the movie provides no explanation for why she doesn't tell him at all. And it's just a plot hole
It's
at the
just-
end of the day.
It's just pettiness.
And all it is
like
is
why?
it's a reason for them to go on that adventure to add to the runtime of the movie
Yep.
completely irrelevant.
and just take
Completely.
and honestly detract from the movie in the long run. This is one of the decisions in the movie I just don't understand.
Yeah. They use way too much CGI in that scene. Too much humor. Like there was this alien with like a
Oh,
dress
the chick.
on, like
Yeah.
woo, like why,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
And then this drunk alien like puts coins in BB-8.
And then, oh my gosh, okay. So the first, I didn't see it the second time because I went to get popcorn. The first watch through, when the guy's putting the coins in BB-8, I'm like, if this comes back and it's just for humor, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Well, it's
And then when BB-8 rolls out and that guy's there, standing in front of him
Yeah.
with the gun, I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it, isn't he?
Yeah.
They're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he starts shooting coins in his face. And then he takes his gun and he goes, and like, oh my gosh, it's just not Star Wars. Like, it was fine. It was funny, I guess.
Kids love that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
and-
I get it. It's like,
And at the end of the day, it's for kids. So like, that's the thing, and that's why it's in there. But
at the same time, there's people like us who
wanted a good,
enjoy
yeah.
everything about Star
And I don't
Wars
think there's
yeah.
anything wrong with that.
No,
I think Disney disregards the older fans of Star Wars and just wants to focus
I
on
don't
the
know.
kids. I don't think that's 100% true, but I think that's some of the reason why there's so
partially. A lot of it has
like-
to do with the toys.
like immature little humor.
Well,
and
while we're on
stuff
this
like that.
on the topic of toys, I think we should
bring
just
up.
hit up Phasma right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Completely useless. Like she could have not been in Force Awakens.
I'm
or
so
this
mad
movie.
about that. I'm just.
She was led up to be what best stormtrooper there is.
She was let up to be a main cast
Yeah.
member. I was
She
telling.
was brought along
Yeah,
with all the
I was
main
telling
cast
Aisha
members.
this.
Yeah.
Every late night show they did, every cast meet and greet, whatever.
She was there.
Gwendolyn Christie was there,
Yep.
as though she was a main cast member.
And I'm pretty sure Lucasfilm said that she was gonna get more of a
Yeah.
role in this movie.
They did.
False.
No, yeah, blatant lie.
Just she dies when
Finn
in
beats
the,
her.
the first time Finn, the worst fighter in the movies.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't really beat her, but
Whatever.
yeah.
So when she first comes out, Randy, because I know Randy before he actually went to the movie, he's like, dude, I can't wait to see.
I thought
Finn
that
fight.
fight was gonna be
Yeah, Finn
that
fight
fight was gonna
Phasma.
be freaking sweet. One
Yeah,
of the best
because it was
Star
gonna
Wars,
be. We thought it'd be
but-
sweet, and so when Phasma comes out, he kind of looked at us, he's like, it's gonna be exciting, and like it was almost comical. What happened?
How bad?
Because
that was
they exchange like 3 blows. Phasma pushes him off into a hole,
And
The hole has
or
like
whatever,
an
yeah.
escalator thing. He comes up, he goes, "Hey," and just
Bam.
mashes her in the face.
She's on the ground. She could have stood up.
Anything. She's sitting
She
on the
just
ground, and
waits
then the
and
floor
fall,
beneath her
yeah.
crumbles. She falls in a fire pit and dies.
Wow.
And also, Finn has kind of a cringy line there. She goes, "You always were scum," and he goes,
Rebels.
"Rebel scum." And it's just like, why do you say that? Because here's the other thing that I don't like. In the first one, they made a very pointed point of saying resistance and first
Yep.
order.
I agree.
And then halfway through this one, there's like, "Nah, we're rebels now."
Yep.
Like,
I don't.
Okay.
Like, there's just so many
Also-
things that happen. I don't know why they happen.
also another unneeded line Finn says. He calls her Chrome Dome.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, yeah, ha ha ha, but like, just beat her, like, just
Fight. Yeah.
that was unneeded
Alright.
for sure.
Let's
Okay,
get back on track
Yeah, let's
here.
move.
We've been running for a little. So I feel like we adequately covered Rose and Finn. They
Holdor,
sucked. And I wanted them out of the movie. Let's talk about Holdor.
One thing about Holdor, when she is in the main freighter, and goes into the Lightspeed into Snoke's ship,
Mhm.
that was sweet.
Yeah,
Like, I'll get
really
that.
cool.
And one thing that they could have done, I think, have that be Leia.
That's
She
easiest-
dies.
Easiest move
Carrie Fisher,
of
may she rest in peace.
actual all
Yeah.
time.
that, yeah, it totally makes sense.
It would
It would-
fit. Yeah.
It would have been totally BA if Leia just be like, no, I'm gonna take this. I'm the
Even-
leader. I want this.
Can I say
to
this?
happen."
Even if, because apparently what they're gonna do now is they're phasing out the old characters. I mean, we knew that from the beginning,
Yeah.
basically. Even if Carrie Fisher had not passed away in real life, objectively that should have been what happened.
Yeah.
Even if she was still alive and
It makes
well,
sense.
she should have been on that ship
It would
going
have been
through.
very fitting for her character after everything that happened to her through the original trilogy and just everything. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, her legacy would have been cemented in Star Wars.
It would have been. It would have
lore
made the movie
forever.
so much better.
Honestly.
And while we're on the topic of Holdor, she just, upon second viewing, like I said, first viewing I was like, I don't really like her, but I can live with her. Second viewing, I hated her. Not as much as I hated Rose, but really just didn't like her at all.
No.
All of her lines were cringeworthy. They're just, it's like they were written by someone who thought that's how Star Wars should sound. Like,
I agree. Yep.
everything she said was just, oh, this sounds like Star Wars, let's put it in there. Even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And she was just useless. And she ends up dying anyway, so I don't know why she's in there. I don't know why they wanted to pay Laura Dern, a very successful and well-known award-winning actress.
Yep.
I don't know why they decided we should pay her money to do this when anyone could have been in that role and done it better. I think I didn't like her at all. All right. You have anything to add about Holdor?
Yeah, she would have been totally irrelevant again if Leia would have died in the bridge scene when the bridge got blown up. If she wouldn't have floated back in the ship and gone into a coma, they never would have appointed Vice Admiral Holdor to the leadership position, which then she...
Well, let's talk about Leia's scene here. Can we?
Yeah.
Yep.
That was awful.
Whose idea was that?
If they- It was so early on in the movie.
Who
when
greenlighted
she,
that?
Yeah, when she got blown out into space and used the Force to come back in. Like,
I said
Uh,
here was my exact thought process during that scene. She gets sucked out after she gets blown out, and at first I was like, huh.
it was
That's not
very,
how I
it was
expected.
early. Yeah.
Yeah,
it
like
was
that's
early.
very early. That's kind of a bold move.
Yeah.
I think I like it. Like this is okay.
I was
Yeah.
beginning to accept the fact that she died like that.
Yeah, me too.
I was
I
like-
wasn't thrilled by it. I was like, I feel like they
No.
could have done something better.
They definitely could have.
But-
With switched her and Holdor.
Yeah, but I was like, okay, this is alright. And then when it zooms in on her floating in space and the music starts swelling, I'm like, this
instantly knew
isn't.
what was-
well, no,
yeah.
actually, at first I thought this isn't like they
Oh.
edited this together to be a touching tribute to her.
I-
Like when they zoomed in on her face and the music came up, I was like, okay, this is good.
This is...
And then it goes to her hand,
Yep.
I was like,
and you
No.
see you just see her
Yeah.
twitch, and I'm like,
no.
I
get
even
what
the
they're
first time around, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that they're trying to show that she's force sensitive and has powers, but why
Why
not?
choose that
Yeah.
weird?
Yeah, why choose to rip our hearts out by thinking she's dead, then flies back in? Why not use a scene in the movie that's critical for her to use her powers. Like, I don't know.
And why, for the love of God, is she the only person whose actress is physically deceased, and she's the only one of the original 3 that's living?
I don't understand that.
It's one of those things where I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yep.
Like,
I agree.
I'm almost not even disappointed. I'm just confused. Why is that?
I get they did a lot of the production like before she died and everything.
Yeah.
And all, but like,
and
you could have changed some stuff.
Yeah, the thing is, they had finished shooting the movie before she died.
Yep.
But it's almost just laziness on Rian Johnson's part to be like, nah, I made a perfect movie. I'm not going to change it. Whoever has the next one, because that time it wasn't known that it was going to be JJ. Whoever has the next one, just screw him, I guess.
Colin Trevorrow.
Let him like deal with this. I'm leaving it how it is.
Yeah.
But how he left it, even if Leia was still alive, would not be good because of the way that she came back and the missed opportunity with going to the ship.
Yep.
I just am so upset about that in particular.
Yeah, I feel like Rian Johnson kind of threw a lot of. I see what's next on the list. And I feel like he threw out a lot of stuff that The Force Awakens hyped up, like Phasma, and then lo and behold,
Snoke.
Supreme Leader.
So let's talk about Snoke. Let's just get out what happens. If you're watching this and haven't seen it, Snoke dies. It's a cool death, I guess, but it is useless, and it's the most infuriating thing I've ever seen in a movie.
Head scratching.
Yeah, I get that. They wanted to show that Kylo Ren is like pure evil. He's gonna kill his master.
He only wants
and,
himself.
He wants the power himself. Like I get that.
And
That's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, but you build him up after The Force Awakens. Everyone has multiple theories about who he is, and he just kind of threw it out like Luke with the lightsaber. Just threw it out behind him. Like
let me say this too. I talked to Mr. Gunther.
Yep.
A former teacher at Valley High School. Mr. Gunther, if you're watching, thanks for watching. And we talked about this movie a little bit, and he said, you don't like it because it's not what you expected. And at first I was like, yeah, that's honestly true. It's got it, it's me, like, it's just because of my expectations and all that. But the truth is, the more I read about how there is no communication between Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams, and Rian Johnson requested to scrap the outline that was already made, which is true.
Really?
Which is true.
I didn't read that.
And write his own script, and was granted that request. The more I read about things like that, I realize it's not just my expectations, it was what was supposed to happen. They had a plan. They had a plan of, Lawrence Kasdan.
Yeah.
Who...
He's like one of the producers.
Yeah. And he wrote a lot of the original trilogy and the prequels and sort of kept George Lucas in check and wrote some of the best parts of Star Wars, wrote the outline for this script. And Rian Johnson requested to trash it and write his own, and they granted him the power.
I didn't know that.
Like, it's shocking. I'll show you the article.
I want to know what that outline was.
I do too.
Yeah,
so bad.
It's a better movie, I'll tell you that.
So bad.
But it's something like with Snoke, and we'll talk about Rey's parents too, where not only it wasn't just here's what we want you to believe, and then we're gonna change it at the last second. I'd be fine with that. Here's what we basically told you it was gonna happen, to a point where it's now a plot hole.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because, and we'll talk about one of the actual plot holes in Rey's parents being nobody in a second. Snoke is just ridiculous, and if they don't talk about him anymore in the next movie, it's gonna be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Not one of the worst movies. One of the worst moments in a movie I've ever seen.
I agree.
Is Snoke's death, because
a terrible part in Star Wars.
It's a huge middle finger to anyone who is invested. And it's not just a twist, it's a middle finger.
I feel that we as fans, we deserve to know, like, we know literally nothing about Snoke as of right now, pretty much.
Yep.
Except that he's from the Outer Rim.
Beyond the Outer Rim. Yeah.
Beyond the Outer Rim.
And,
like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The unknown regions.
And in this movie, there are so many twists, more than I probably even remember that would be considered twists. And they're just twists for the sake of twists. They're not logical.
Yep.
They're not sensical. They don't add anything to the story.
Yep.
They're just misdirections because they can be there.
Wishy-washy stuff.
And that's the problem with this movie.
Just
they
totally
just had it, so they went with it.
middle grounded.
Yep.
Not sure of what it was. Like, total garbage, honestly.
Garbage. That's a really good word for it.
One thing I was hoping with Snoke, I know you said it too, Darth Plagueis. Like, I like the prequels a lot. I know I'll probably get some hate with that, but I like him a lot. And there was a theory that he was Darth Plagueis and he survived after Palpatine.
I still think he could be, honestly.
Yeah, he could be. But
here's the thing with the whole movie, and I've said this a couple times. The first time I watched it, I walked out incredibly unsatisfied with the answers we got. So unsatisfied that I said, this might be still a really good movie because it might be all another misdirection, and the next movie will clear everything up. And then I realized,
it could happen,
which it still could happen, but then I realized I'm counting on a movie that doesn't exist yet to make me like this movie.
Yeah.
So this movie's not good.
No.
If I'm waiting on a movie that doesn't exist yet to make me like this movie, it's not okay. I shouldn't say it's not good. I should say personally, I should say personally, it wasn't good for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And if I'm waiting on a movie that doesn't exist to make me like this one, then I don't think I like this movie.
I agree.
And so that's the whole point, is there were just twists that didn't need to be in there. So let's talk about Rey's parents. They're nobody.
Yeah.
And it's literally not just an answer I'm unsatisfied with. Aisha and I talked about this before you came. It's a plot hole.
Yep.
Because in The Force Awakens, I think we talked about this too, Rey has a flashback to when she was a very little girl. Or it might have been part of her Force dream. I don't.
That would have been it. Yeah.
Yeah. It was part of her Force vision when she found Luke's lightsaber, and Anakin's lightsaber. Yeah. And
bless the prequels.
and she has a flashback in that scene where Ungnar Plot, is that his name? I'm not sure.
Ungnar Plot.
Yeah, he's leading her away by her hand, and she looks up at the sky and says, "No, come back!" And it's a ship flying away from Jakku. Her parents. She's saying, "No, come back!" And it's a ship blasting off. But Kylo tells her parents are nobody, who sold her for drug and alcohol money, and died on Jakku. So
did he say died on Jakku?
He said died in paupers' graves, which I'm assuming means poor graves on Jakku.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It was heavily implied they never left the planet.
Yeah.
So it's not just an answer I don't like, it's an answer that was shown as these people are flying away from the planet, someone important is up there. Doesn't even necessarily have to be someone we know, but someone important is up there other than no one. Like, and if it's true that Rey's parents are nobody, it just is a plot hole because of that scene, and it just is terrible regardless.
Misdirection, totally hanging us out to dry on that one.
I feel they had a missed opportunity with that as well. I can deal with that more than I can deal with just Snoke dying instantly, but that's me personally.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I think
still would have liked to. I still don't know if that's true, if that's Rey's parents or not. But.
For me, Snoke is worse.
Yeah,
than,
for sure.
Than the Rey's parents.
For sure.
Like, Snoke he was cool, I thought, and then they just.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get what Disney's trying to do with the anyone can be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rey's parents not being anyone makes sense. So, in this new Star Wars generation, we have all these Jedi that are not related to the Skywalker line or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I get that they just handled it poorly, poor screenwriting, poor script. So, yeah, just
exactly like you said. I get what they're trying to do with that, and I would even be okay with it, except the prequels, which I know we all like.
Yeah.
They were very clear in, regardless of whether it was dumb or not, because I do think it's the weakest part of the prequels, the midichlorians and the fact that power basically comes from somewhere. Like, Anakin had power due to being a Skywalker and conceived by the Force through Darth Sidious. Darth Sidious had powers. He was trained by Darth Plagueis, who was the greatest Sith of all time. Obi-Wan had power, trained by Qui-Gon Jinn, trained by Yoda. Like, everything has an origin of power. And regardless of how dumb that may be, that you have to be somebody to be a Jedi, I keep saying it's the bed they made, so they have to lay in it. Like, that's what Star Wars decided.
I feel it,
And this movie just, for no good reason, because there was no logic, there's no logic in this movie, period, but there was no logic in why they decided to go this different direction.
Yeah. They
just said, here it is, deal with it. And to me, if there was at least a justifiable reason for why it's changed to now, then I'd be fine, but there's not.
Establish that in The Force Awakens first. So that we don't have to worry about, who's our Rey's parents? We already know that
it doesn't
they're
matter who they are.
Yeah.
At least establish this new set of laws
Yeah.
before we start.
So we don't theorize for 2 years to be disappointed.
Yeah.
I was extremely hyped up for this movie.
It's just
I was feeling like possibly like The Dark Knight, that kind of sequel, and
me too. Yeah.
severely disappointed to say the least.
It's just a lot of the things just seemed like a middle finger for the sake of being a middle finger, and it made me mad. So let's see. We talked about Rey's parents, talked about Snoke, Finn and Rose, Finn not dying. Let's hit on that briefly. Finn, I didn't like in this movie. I really kind of hated, as I said, him and Rose's plotline. He had a chance to really grow as a character right at the end by flying into the cannon that we're going to use to blow up the door. And really, there's just not a lot to be said about this scene other than it was terrible, and it was just Disney not wanting a marketable character to die.
Yep.
The music stopped. He started crying.
He closed his eyes.
Literally everything was set for the scene, and then Rose just comes in, blasts him out of the sky. He doesn't do it. He's alive. She's alive. She says, "We're not gonna win by fighting what we hate," which first of all is just not true. We're gonna win by saving what we love. Okay, great. Save what you love. They're still gonna attack you.
Yeah.
Unless you attack back. So that line actually just makes no logical sense whatsoever. And then she kisses him. And it just feels very forced in, very out of place. There was no chemistry between the two the entire movie whatsoever.
No.
And then that
no matter what people say.
Yeah, that was arguably. It's part of Finn and Rose's plot point, so it's terrible by nature, but it's arguably one of the worst scenes in the movie.
And brings us back to Rose. We strongly disliked Rose. She is
terrible.
Not a good character.
They could have just let Finn do something.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome.
Can we talk about a plot hole here too?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you gonna mention?
Yes. The speeders. They were.
shout out to Jeffrey Madison for this plot point. By the way.
The speeders. Okay, they're pieces of junk. So, they just charge these
full speed
gorilla walkers with fists like this.
I haven't told you this yet. It's
so it takes like a good 5 minutes for them to
even longer. I'd say 7-8 minutes to get out there.
Get out there. So
at full speed, by the way.
Finn is out there. He's about to get into the cannon, and
I know this.
then this happens, and then she's hurt. She passes out after she kisses him, and then like 3 minutes later, he drags her on a piece of the speeder,
basically
back into the base.
Basically, what we're saying is
what
it took about 10 minutes for the machines at full speed to reach the walkers. After Finn gets blown out of the sky by Rose, he puts her on a sled, drags her back to the base while the walkers are still there in the span of like 2 minutes.
And what is stopping the walkers from just going like
pew,
bam,
pew,
bam, and dead?
There's no explanation as to how they get back in there. He puts her on a sled and starts dragging her.
Maybe he used the Force.
Oh yeah, well,
that's
all we need is another theory, huh?
Oh yeah.
But
so
that was terrible. It's a little nitpicky, but it's funny when you really think about it.
Also,
it's just stupid.
Before that, Rose turns around. Finn is still going, and she somehow gets out in front of him and pulls him down.
I noticed that.
There's just no logic in that scene. There's very little logic in the movie.
The more we talk about this movie, the more we find fault in its plot and storyline and everything.
I really want to like this movie
too.
Dude,
I'm so sad.
There's
this
great
is
points,
sadness.
There's
this
great
isn't
parts
anger.
in it, and there's just stupid stuff though.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get over this for a while.
This is not. It's not like I said. It's not anger. It's sadness. It's just like
passionate fans' disappointment right here.
It's just too bad
right now. So
it's too bad.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up, guys?
More plot holes?
That's the last thing on the list was just general massive plot holes.
Okay.
I think unless you got one.
Yeah, I have a few. So The Force Awakens sets up nicely, lobs it up for Rian Johnson to just hit this movie out of the park.
Yep.
And just totally changes everything. And major plot lines from The Force Awakens just completely ignored. So, one, Kylo Ren's obsession with Darth Vader, his
father's
grandfather.
behind stage,
So, yeah, that's a major plot line. He doesn't say anything about Darth Vader, his grandpa.
Yeah, he just totally stops
caring,
talking about Darth Vader.
I think Vader was mentioned once.
Snoke said about Vader.
Yeah, but Kylo was obsessed with his grandpa. He wanted to be him, and he just
I think him killing Snoke, like, he's fully taken all the power that Vader couldn't. I feel like that
he
could
didn't
be
acknowledge
it.
that.
I mean, yeah, it wasn't acknowledged at all. I feel like that could have been it, and they're just building that up for people to just kind of grasp.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if that's what they meant or what.
Also,
let's talk about
Luke.
the Luke map, because I think
Yep.
I think it should be the last thing we talk about, because it gets into the nitpicky territory, I'd say. But it's something that needs to be mentioned because it's just an easy miss.
It also explains why Luke's behavior is somewhat harsh in the beginning.
And it also goes to show the disconnect between JJ and Ryan.
Major.
Yep.
So, Luke, in The Force Awakens, it's assumed that he is on Octave to reflect and try and fix the Jedi Order. And so he gave the map to, what's his name?
I don't remember the
Lor San Tekka.
Lor San Tekka at the beginning.
He gave it for
I'm not sure if he
safekeeping.
gave it to him. It's in a few comics, but he found it.
So
Whatever.
anyway, he got the map.
I think it's
from
confirmed
Luke
he gave it to
somewhere.
Luke.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
Luke gave it to him.
Yeah. Okay.
he gave this map in case the Resistance needed him.
Mm-hmm.
So, by the Last Jedi saying, Luke said in the movie, "I came here to die," is totally not true.
Didn't want anyone to find him.
Yeah, totally not true. Doesn't make any sense.
It's just a disconnect between JJ and Ryan.
I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that.
JJ, honestly, the first time I watched The Force Awakens, I wasn't that high on it. It was
Yeah.
it was a good movie. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it and all. I just wasn't oh yeah, this is so good. But now that I've seen The Last Jedi twice, there was definitely JJ set up so much stuff to happen in this movie and the next one. This movie just let me down. It didn't really explain any of it, and
I would say that that's one of the biggest thing for me is so much of this movie could have been fixed if JJ and Ryan had
Collaborated.
had a vision,
had a relationship.
If when they set out to start this movie, when they set out to make The Force Awakens, if they had already known what was going to happen at the end, it would be fine. But the fact is they didn't, and they've admitted that they didn't, and they've even admitted that they don't know what's going to happen in 9 yet. Ryan Johnson was asked.
I saw something. JJ just turned in a screenplay.
Yeah.
Just a day or two ago. So I don't know.
Ryan Johnson was asked about Rey's parents, and he said, "I can't speak for what they're going to do in the next movie, but for me, Kylo believed it to be true, and I believe that's the truth." But he says, I can't speak for what's going to happen in the next movie, which shows that there's just how can you not care about this? And if you're gonna make that happen, how can you at least stick to your guns? That's the thing you kept saying. It's so wishy-washy. He says that they're nobody, but then he just says,
well,
maybe
there could
not.
be somebody in the future. We never know.
Yeah, and it's just if you're gonna do that, it just shows that it's a twist for the sake of twist. Yep. It shows that he's not committed to it. It shows that he just did it to do it, and it makes me mad.
Yeah.
One thing. Or do you have something to say?
The potential for this movie was off the charts.
Oh my gosh.
The way
I've never
J.J.
been more excited for a movie.
Set this up. It took skill to mess this movie up.
It really
I
did.
swear, because I have no words anymore. I'm done.
I think we're about to hear boys.
One thing also, I'm a little frightened about what the future is.
Me too.
If the producers and Kathleen Kennedy, the CEO of Lucasfilm now, I believe, she said that this is great movie.
They all
possibly
loved it.
yeah.
They all loved it.
Everyone high up at Lucasfilm loved this movie, and I don't know. That just kind of worries me. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't
good.
And there was so many stuff that I hated about this movie, though. Still, at the same time, and I'm just not sure.
We got. I guess. Yeah.
What the future will hold for Star Wars. I'm still a fan, and I always will be. But
yeah, I told Randy. I told you guys. When it comes out, I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll
same.
love it like
yeah,
my own.
I'll watch it all the time still.
I love it like my own, but it's just gonna be a little special, I guess. You know, it's just a little different than everyone else.
Yeah.
In,
I guess
in
that's
not
how-
a very good way.
Yeah, I guess that's how people felt about the prequels when they were released. And
That's
I don't know. I enjoyed them though, but
yeah.
But also, the Revenge of the Sith was made up for the first two's.
yeah,
faults.
Revenge of the Sith.
Well, it was a very good film in my opinion. So
I agree.
maybe it could happen in
Yeah.
this trilogy too. The ninth could,
Yeah.
totally
I still
make
have
up
a lot
for
of
the
hope, you know.
failure of the Last Jedi. But
I
who
definitely-
knows?
I definitely still have a lot of hope. But
I do too.
we'll see what happens. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining me.
And may the force be with you.
Always.
Always.